Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is April 25th, 2023. It's on Tuesday and raining outside. How are you spending Tuesday? How do you like Tuesday? How do you like Tuesday? Do you have a day off today? Or school? Or job? Is it a day off today for you? Or do you have a work or school today? Could you get back to the normal orbit after Monday? Could you go back to the normal orbit after Monday? My life is like full of tragedy. My life is like full of tragedy. Tragedy. My life is filled with tragedy so far. My life is filled with tragedy so far. Tragic hero. Tragic heroine. I've gone through tragic experiences. Tragic recovery. Tragic hero. Tragic life. My tragic life. Tragic. Tragic. A tragic ending. The movie ends with a tragic ending. The movie ends with a tragic ending. The movie ended with a tragic ending. Tragic. The movie ended with a tragic ending. The movie ended with a tragic ending. Such a tragic ending it is. What a tragic ending it was. What a tragic ending it was. How tragic an ending it was. Tragic. A series of tragic events. A series of tragic events. Accidents. We might be faced with a series of tragic events. We might be confronted with a series of tragic accidents. Tragic events. Tragic occasion. Tragic accidents. Tragic. A tragic ending. Tragic. I've got over many tragic diseases, events. I've recovered from many tragic accidents, events, things. I've recovered from tragic accidents, events, diseases, and so on. I've recovered from tragic disease, tragic disease, tragic things, tragic things, tragic things. A tragic heroine. Do you know the tragic heroine in the theater? Have you ever acted as a tragic tragic hero in the theater? Have you ever taken a role of tragic hero? Have you ever taken a role of tragic hero? Have you ever taken a role of tragic hero? Have you ever taken a role of tragic hero? Tragic heroine. Tragic. The movie ended with a tragic ending. The movie ends with a tragic ending. The movie ends with a tragic ending. The situation was more tragic than we expected. It was more devastated by the typhoon. The de facto condition in the disaster-affected area was more tragic than we expected. The outcome after the typhoon passed was more tragic than we expected. Tragic. The tragic natural disaster can exceed our expectations, anticipations, predictions. The tragic typhoon. The tragic typhoons are created every year in the Pacific Ocean. Tragic heroine, tragic heroine, tragic hero, tragic. The device can detect the iron existing up to 10 meters under the soil. The device can detect the iron lying up to 10 meters under the soil. Some animals can detect the smell more sophisticated than us. Some animals can detect the smell and sound better than humans. Some animals can detect the sound and smell more precisely than humans. The iron detection device did not react in the area because the battery was out, so the iron detection device did not work. Detection. The inclement weather in the region hampered the rescuers from searching for the missing girl from the sky. Due to the inclement weather, The detection of the missing girl was delayed. The inclement weather hampered the rescuers from searching for the missing boy. The inclement weather delayed the search for the missing girl. The inclement weather and blurred view prevented the detection of the refugees in the mountain. Detection. The blurred view due to the inclement weather hindered, prevented the detection of the refugees in the mountain. The iron detection device rang when it was attached to the body of the man. The iron detection device will ring when it detects the iron up to 30 centimeters from the iron. The iron detection device will ring when it approaches within 30 centimeters. The iron detection device will ring when it approaches the object within 30 centimeters. The iron detection device will ring when it approaches the object within 30 centimeters. Detection. The blurred view and inclement weather delayed the detection of the refugees in the mountain. What are the differences between detectives and prosecutors? The detectives took a memo of the fingerprints left by the suspect. The detective took a record of the fingerprints left by seemingly a suspect. Detective novel. Do you like to read a detective novel? Detective books. Do you like reading a detective book? Do you like reading a detective book? Do you like reading detective books? 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 Detective. Do you like reading detective books? Do you like reading detective books? Detective. The man hired a detective to know the truth behind his wife. The detective is on standby. The detectives are ordered to see if the entity is doing wrongdoings in the building. The detectives have been tracking suspected a group which might be doing wrongdoings in the apartment. Since my skin is so sensitive to the cloth, I cannot wear a t-shirt with coarse fabric or clothing. Since my skin is very sensitive, so I cannot wear clothes with coarse clothes, coarse clothes. I remember becoming depressed when the receptionist of the hotel was coarse in manner. I still remember being depressed because the staff of the hotel was coarse in manner. Coarse. The quality made by the amateur was coarse. 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 Try not to be coarse in manner. All of the staffs in the phone shop are told not to be coarse in manner and always be polite to the customers. The employees in the store are told not to be coarse in manner and try to be kind and considerate to the customers. Coarse, 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 coarse. Coarse. Don't be coarse. Don't be coarse in manner. Never be coarse in manner. Never be coarse in manner. Some people are coarse in manner. Some people are coarse in manner. When we are angry, some of us can be coarse in manner. When we get angry, some of us can be coarse in manner. Coarse. The products were completed coarsely by the employee, which ended up producing a gain. The furniture was assembled coarsely by the amateur, so it looked 108 degrees different from the model one shown on the package of the product. Since the furniture was made by the amateur coarsely, the appearance looked different from the model one shown on the package of the product. Since the furniture was made by the amateur coarsely, it looked different from the one shown on the package of the product. Although I was playing the piano so politely, as it approached the latter, my playing got more coarse. Although I was playing the piece politely at the first part, My playing started to be more coarse as it approached the latter. Did it happen to you too? Although I was playing the piece very politely at first, in the first phase, in the first part, at the first part, but my playing got coarse as it approached the latter. Although I played the piece, although I was playing the piece politely, with conscience at first part, but my playing started to be coarse as it approached, as it entered the latter, as it entered the latter, as it entered the latter and entered, as it entered the latter, as it entered the latter. Although I was playing the piece politely, my playing started to be coarse as it entered the latter, 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 as it entered the latter. Coarsely. After the 100-meter run, the athlete answered some questions from the interview out of breath. After 100-meter run, I was out of breath and lying on the ground until my breath coming back to the normal. Coarseness. The coarseness of the production was obvious from the appearance. It was obvious that the product was produced, assembled by the amateur, not professional. The coarseness of the outcome of the house was obvious from the appearance. There were many flaws inside. There were many flaws and defects which were obvious from amateur's eyes. So the owner of the house filed a lawsuit against the contractor, against the real estate. Estate agency against the estate agency, against estate agency, against the estate agency, against the estate agency. The content of the fabric makes me feel itchy. The coarseness of the cloth makes me feel more itchy. So I cannot wear a cloth with coarse fabric. I cannot wear a cloth with coarse clothing fabrics. I cannot wear clothes with coarseness. I try to choose the cloth without coarseness. I try to use cloth without coarseness. 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 I know better than to be coarseness in front of the customer. I know better than to be coarseness. I know better than to be coarseness in front of customers. Coarseness. 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 The coarseness of the ground with the tire of the cars wear out faster. The coarseness of the road will make the car wear out faster. Coarseness way of usage of product will make it break out faster. If you operate the machine with coarseness, it will wear out sooner. Coarseness. Coarseness condition of the road will make the car wear out faster. The coarseness of the road will make the car wear out faster. The coarseness condition of the road will make the cars wear out faster. The coarseness of the material of the clothes made me feel itchy. The coarseness of the clothes made me feel itchy. The coarse material of the clothes made me feel itchy. The coarse material of the clothes made me feel itchy. The coarseness of the material of the cloth made me feel itchy. The coarseness of the material of the cloth made me feel itchy. Don't make a crude comment in the meeting and become polite. Sorry, I used to beside myself. I was beside myself, obsessed with playing video games. So I couldn't hear the doorbell at all. I was so into that. Please refrain from making crude comments at the meeting, which is a serious meeting with other departments. crude, crude oil. The company imports crude materials and export industrialized goods, industrialized 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 goods, industrialized industrialized industrial industry industrialized 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 goods, industrialized 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 goods, industrialized international, unidentified 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 object unidentified object. Have you ever seen an unidentified object? Have you ever seen an unidentified object? Unidentified object. And have you ever seen an unidentified object? Have you ever seen an unidentified object? Unidentified object. And have you ever seen an unidentified object? No. Crude. Crude cedar trees. Crude cedar trees. Raw materials. Crude materials. The company imports crude materials and exports industrialized goods to foreign countries. Crude. Please refrain from making a crude comment. Please refrain from making crude comment at the meeting. Crude. Crude. The restaurant imports crude ingredients, crude fresh vegetables, and food from other suppliers in order to serve fresh cuisines to the customers. The restaurant imports crude ingredients from suppliers and prepare from scratch in order to serve fresh cuisines to the customers. The restaurant imports crude food from the suppliers and prepare from scratch so as to serve fresh, refined cuisines to the customers. There are always a couple of students who like to be crude in the class and make fun of other students. There are always a couple of students who like to be crude in the classroom to make them fun, to make them laugh. There are always a couple of students who like to be crude so as to make other students laugh. Crude, crude. Do you know if there are some shops where I can buy crude timbers or crude logs, crude timbers, crude wood, because I'd like to cut them out myself to make furniture. Do you know if there are some shops where I can buy crude timbers? Because I'd like to create my own furniture from scratch, from the timber. So I'd like to buy crude timber. crude vegetables, or the vegetables grown with chemical products in order to prevent insects from eating them. Crude vegetables without chemical products. Crude vegetables. Crude way of growing 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 vegetables. Crude. Crude materials. Crude materials, raw materials. Crude materials. The company imports crude materials and exports industrialized goods, merchandises, products. Crude. We can buy crude materials in the wholesale market, and retailers prepare carefully or cook them in each shop or restaurant or store. We can buy crude materials from the wholesale market, which is very vibrant in the early morning. Crude cedar trees. Cutting off the crude cedar trees from the mountain is prohibited now. Cutting off the crude cedar trees from the mountain is prohibited now, forbidden now. The machine soon broke out because the operator operated it crudely. The machine soon broke out because the employee operated it crudely. Since the latter was constructed by the man, amateur, crudely, it soon broke out. It soon leaned. The warehouse was constructed by the amateur, so it soon leaned. Since the warehouse was constructed by the amateur crudely, so it soon leaned. It looks like being flown away by the typhoon. So every locals or neighborhood are afraid of the warehouse being flown away by the strong wind or a typhoon. The warehouse was constructed crudely by the amateur, so it looks leaned on its side, and the neighboring people are afraid of it being flown away by the typhoon or a strong wind. The storehouse was constructed crudely by the amateur, so it soon leaned on its side, and the neighboring people are afraid. Neighboring people are afraid of it being blown off by typhoon. Some drivers are driving their cars crudely, which is very dangerous. I, I often see a couple of many cars driving crudely, especially during the rush hours. Crudely. I often see many cars driving crudely, especially during rush hours. I know they want to go to the destination earlier because they didn't get up early enough. We often said that we should get up early enough to get to the destination on in time, and so that we don't have to hurry during the commute. Crudely, 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 crudely. The cashier was calculating the prices of the shopping made by the customer crudely by pushing the button strongly. The staff was putting the products on the shelves crudely, loud enough to be able to noticed by the customers. The staff was putting the products on the shelves coarsely, crudely, 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 crudely. The staff was putting the products on the shelves crudely, enough to be able to enough to be noticed by customers with sound, enough to be noticed by the customers crudely, 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 crudely. How do you distinguish authentic watch from fake ones? How can we tell authentic watch from fake ones? Authentic. How do you distinguish authentic email from fake ones? How do you distinguish authentic emails from scams, phishing scams? How do you distinguish authentic emails from scams? How can I distinguish authentic emails from my acquaintances from scams? How can I tell authentic, genuine emails from my acquaintances from scams? The manager of my department met with other departments' counterpart. The manager of my department met with sales department counterpart. The manager of my department is to meet with sales department counterpart. Department's counterpart. The manager of my department is to attend the meeting consisting of other departments' counterpart. The general manager of my department is to appear at the meeting consisting of other departments' counterpart. The Prime Minister is to meet the country's counterpart. The Foreign Minister of the country A is going to meet the country B's counterpart. The watch I'm wearing now is much cheaper than your counterpart. The watch I'm wearing now is much cheaper than your counterpart. The smartphone worn by the smartphone had by him is 3 times more expensive than your counterpart. The teacher's TOEIC score is twice higher than my counterpart. My teacher's skill in English is much better than my counterpart. The living cost in Tokyo is a little more expensive than my city's counterpart. The living cost in my city is a little cheaper than Tokyo's counterpart. What are you searching for? Some people go on a travel to search for what they really wanna do in the life. Some people go on a travel to search for what they really wanna do in their lives. What are you searching? Could you help me searching for my jewelry I dropped around here? It might be tough thing, but if you have time, could you help me searching my jewelry I dropped around here? Okay, until 30 minutes. Would you mind helping me search the jewelry? Would you mind helping me search for the jewelry? Would you mind me opening the window? Would you mind if I open the window? Would you mind me opening the window? Would you mind my opening the window? Would you mind closing the door? Not at all. What are you searching? Guess what I'm searching? Are you searching a job? Are you searching a job in your living area? Or is it also okay to work at a prefecture? Is it also okay for you to work in another prefecture? The search for the refugees entered midnight, 24/7. The search for the missing girl entered midnight. The prisoner passed searching security in the prison, which made news. Thanks to the searching security in the border, our safety is guaranteed to a certain extent, to some degrees, to some extent. The searching regulation was made even stricter due to the incident. The searching restriction on the border measure was made even stricter. Was even made stricter due to the increasing infections. The searching border measures were even made stricter or closed, as good as closed, nearly equal to being closed to other countries. The searching border measures were even made stricter due to the increasing number of infections. The imperial palace is protected by searching surveillances, securities, and so on. The imperial palace is protected by searching security. Searching surveillances of the supervision. Searching supervision, searching training, searching protection against enemies, and searching protection way, such as stacked up stones, moats were created around the castle. Searching preparation was made. I usually have a searching preparation before my performance in order to decrease the percentage and risk. Searching surveillance around the castle. Searching security. The imperial palace is protected with searching security, with searching security. The searching border measures was made even more stricter, The strict and searching border measures was made even stricter. The searching border measures were lifted last year. As far as I know, it was September, I think. last September. The searching border measures were lifted. As far as I know, it was last September. Searching. After now that the searching border measures were lifted, more and more tourists are entering the country. Now that the searching border measures were lifted, have been lifted, the tourists are entering the country. Now that the searching border measures have been lifted, more and more tourists are entering Japan now, which is good for especially tourism industry. Searching. The searcher for the refugees were hindered by the inclement weather and blurred view. The blurred view of the area with mist prevented the searchers from searching for the refugees. The blurred view due to the mist prevented the searchers from detecting the refugees in the mountain from the sky. Searcher. 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 The searchers for the missing refugees were hindered, hampered, prevented by the inclement weather, mist and fog. The blurred view due to the mist and fog prevented the searchers from detecting the refugees. The blurred views because of the mist and fog hindered the searchers from finding the refugees in the mountain. Searcher. 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 The strong fog and mist hampered the searchers from detecting the refugees in the mountain. Strong fog and mist hampered the searchers from searching for the missing girl. The strong mist and fog and blurred views hindered the searchers from detecting missing boat on the river. Searcher. Searcher for the missing boat. Searchers for the missing boat. A group of searchers returned from the mountain. A group of searchers from the mountain returned with the refugees, which made the relatives happy. The group of searchers for the missing refugees came back from the disastrous area with the refugees, which made the relatives happy. Have you ever watched the movie? Have you ever watched the movie called Prison Break? Have you ever watched the movie called Prison Break? Prisoner. Prisoner. Being bound by time might be a prisoner. Doing what I'm not interested in is the kind of prisoner. Doing what I'm not interested in is almost same as prisoner for me. The judge ruled that the suspect should go to the prison due to the crime he committed. He commit. The judge ruled that the criminal should go to the prison for the crimes he committed. The judge ruled that the suspect should go to the prison for the crimes he committed. The judge ruled that he should go to the prison for the crimes he committed. A fire can break out with a subtle spark. A fire can break out with a subtle spark. Slight spark, subtle spark, a handful spark. Whenever I go out of my house, I make sure that all of the switches are turned off in order to avoid the fire. In all of my house being burned by the fire. In all of my house breaking out. In fear of my house fire breaking out for fear of a fire breaking out. Whenever I go out of my house, I make sure that all of the switches are turned off for fear of fire breaking out. For fear of fire breaking out. The prisoner succeeded in breaking out of the prison, but soon he was arrested because he was captured by the security camera from scratch. The prisoner was about to break out of the prison, but he was captured during the way. I broke out of the black company few years ago. I broke out of the black company few years ago. I broke out of the company. I broke out of the company few years ago. I broke out of the company few years ago. I broke out of the company few years ago. Once, provided that I dropped into black hole, would it possible to break out of that? I think no one knows the answer because it is not known what will happen if we dropped into the black hole. But I'd like to know the exact phenomenon with the development of technologies and so on. But there are some hypotheses out there. Spaghetti phenomenon I often hear. Our body is absorbed into the black hole so quickly, so it looks like spaghetti from. But how it looks depends on where we observe the situation. Once we drop into the black hole, would it be possible to break out? Providing that we dropped into the black hole, would it be possible to break out? Let's break out of the recession. 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 Let's break out of doing what we are not interested in. Let's break out of the recession. Let's break out of what we are doing. Let's break out of doing what we are not interested in. Let's break out of doing what we are not interested in. Break out. I broke out of the black company a few years ago. Break out. The ninja left the house without any traces. The ninja left the house without trace. trace. I speak with a trace of Kansai dialect. Do you speak with a trace of Tokyo accent? A trace of Tokyo accent. Regional accent. Do you speak with a trace of a regional accent? Local accent. Dialect. Do you speak with a trace of the local dialect? Do you speak with a trace of the local dialect? A trace of. Trace. What are you tracing? Do you like to trace the footprints left by animal? Do you like to trace the footprints left by the animals? Left by animals. Do you like to trace the footprints left by animals? Do you find them cute? Or have you ever been involved in accident by following the footprints in the end? Trace. The searchers are investigating the traces left by the suspects, the thief. The detectives are investigating the fingerprints left by the thief. The detectives are investigating the traces left by the thief. The detectives are investigating the traces left by the thief. Do you speak with a trace of the local dialect? Yes, I speak with a trace of the local dialect. Some young people go to Tokyo with a trace of money to dream of something, to become big. A trace of. a trace of luck. Can you challenge with a little chance? A little of chance. A trace of chance. Can you challenge with maybe 30% trace of chance? Can you challenge a trace of chance? Can you take a run? Can you take a risk? Can you run a risk? Without taking a risk, we cannot achieve. Without taking a risk, we will not fail nor succeed. Without running a risk, we will not fail nor succeed. Boring. A trace of hope. If there is even a trace of hope, never give up. Work on your duty. Be obsessed with your dream. Focus yourself on the duty, what you want to do. Concentrate yourself on your passion. Concentrate yourself on your passion. Do it now, not tomorrow. Do it now. Now. A trace of hope. A trace of hope. Maybe I must be speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. Not maybe, maybe, definitely, absolutely. I am speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. I am speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent, I think. I'm sure. I'm certain. I must be speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. Japanese accent. I must be speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. I must be speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. I must be speaking English with a trace of Japanese accent. A trace of, 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 a trace of money, a trace of hope, a trace of chance, a trace of luck, 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 a trace of luck. Is it traceable of, is the car going through the tunnel traceable from the radar? Is the car, are the cars going through the tunnel traceable from the radar? Radar, radar, radar. Are the cars going through the tunnel or underground traceable from the radar? Are the cars going through the tunnel or underground traceable with the radar system? Are the cars going underground or the tunnel traceable? Are the cars going under the tunnels, going through the tunnel or under the ground traceable with the radar? Are the cars going through the tunnel or under the ground, under the sea tunnel traceable by the devices? Are the cars going through the tunnel or going under the sea tunnel, going through the under the sea tunnel, going under the sea tunnel, going through the under the sea tunnel traceable with the device, with the radar? Are the cars going through the tunnel or going through the undersea tunnel traceable? Are the cars going through the tunnel or going through the undersea tunnel traceable with the radar, by the radar or by the device? Traceable, traceable. It is more traceable from the sky. It is more traceable from the sky with the wider view. It is more traceable from the sky with a broader view, wider view, broader view, wider view, traceable. It is more traceable from the sky with wider view. Have you ever traced animal traces, animal footprints? Have you ever traced footprints left by animals? The police officers are tracing the speeding car from behind. The police car is chasing the speeding car from behind. The police car is tracing the speeding car from behind. Ended up the driver arrested. In order to trace the data from the previous years, we write down the date of the day so that we can trace back to the data concisely by typing the date from the searching corner. We write down the date of the day. We input the date of the day, so that we can trace back to the data of the particular years or dates. We enter the date of the day. Don't forget to insert the date of the day in the file so that we can trace back to the particular year's data smoothly. Don't forget to put the date of the day on the title of the file so that we can trace the file immediately. Do you keep track of your weight every day? Do you keep track of your weight every day? Do you weigh your weight? Do you measure your weight? Do you measure your weight? Do you measure your weight? Do you keep track of your weight? Do you keep track of your weight every day? Do you keep track of your weight every day? Do you keep track of your weight every day? Do you keep track of your date every day? Track. Track. The police car is tracking the speeding car from behind. The police car is tracking the speeding car from behind. The police car is tracking the speeding car from behind. Have you ever experienced being tracked from behind when you were driving a car? And have you ever experienced being chased or tracked or traced from behind when you were driving a car? And have you ever tracked from behind when you were driving a car? And have you ever been tracked from behind when you were driving a car? And have you ever been tracked from behind when you were driving a car? Do you like track and field? Yes, my favorite sports was my favorite subjects were 50-meter run and that throwing one, iron ball throwing one, which is called hogan nage in Japanese. I did not like the long meters run, like 2000 meters run or 1 kilometer run. I don't like the long distance run. I preferred short distance run, like 50-meter run or 100-meter run. I even felt 100-meter run long. I even felt 100-meter run so long. And my stamina didn't last so long, even 100-meter. So 50-meter run is my best subject I like in the track and field. I even felt 100-meter run so long. I even felt 100-meter run so long. I even felt 100-meter run so long. Although it is regarded as a short meter long run. Although it is seen short distance run. Track and field. Which was your favorite subject in track and field? I will be waiting for you in front of the car second at the platform on track 3. I will be waiting for you at the bench on track 3. I will be waiting for you at the track 3. I will be waiting for you at the bench in track 3 of the train station. Track 3. Track between 9 and 10. Track between 9 and 10. Track between 9 and 10. Train track between 9 and 10. Does it exist? Does it exist? Let's meet at the track 4, track 5. Which do you prefer, to wait at track 5 or in front of the station? Which do you prefer, to wait at the train track or in front of the station? I will be waiting for you at the track 3 in front of car second. Animal tracks. Have you ever followed animal tracks? Have you ever traced animal tracks? Do you find animal tracks cute? Yes, I find animal tracks cute. I find animal tracks cute. They are very cute. I find animal tracks cute. Track. Animal tracks. Animal tracks. Animal tracks. Animal tracks. Animal tracks. Do you find animal tracks cute? Yes. I like them. Have you followed animal tracks? Have you ever followed animal tracks? Have you ever followed animal tracks? Animal tracks. Track. Track and field. The train we are going to take departs from track 3, so please do not make a mistake. The train we are going to take from now departs at track 3. The train we are going to take departs from track 3. Animal tracks. 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 I found tracks left by animals. I found some tracks left by someone. I left my truck as the proof that I stayed in the hotel by leaving my memo on the notebook. The soil was filled with tracks by people because it was raining, so it was the condition where it's easier to leave the tracks on the soil. The soil was filled with tracks left by people, animals, and so on. Animal tracks, 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 animal tracks. Tracker, cracker, sweetened, and one side of the senbei is sweetened and the other is salted. Do you know that snack? I like it. I want you to taste it. It's very good. My favorite snack. Tracker, tracker. I took a detour because someone tracker was tracking me from behind. I took a detour and changed my route because I found a tracker behind me. Tracker. We took a detour because we found a tracker behind us. Tracker. We took a detour. We changed our route and took a detour because we found a tracker tracing us from behind. Tracker. 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 Tracker to the car. Tracker of the car. The tracker of our car turned out to be our relatives. The tracker of the car turned out to be disguised police officer. The tracker of the car proved to be a police car, disguised police car. The tracker of the car turned out to be a disguised police car. The tracker of the car proved to be the police car. The tracker of the speeding car turned out to be a police car, disguised police car. The tracker of the car proved to be a disguised police car. The tracker of the car turned out to be a disguised police car. Patrol car. Tracker, 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 tracker. The tracker of the car proved to be a patrol car. The trucker of the car turned out to be a police car. Disguised police car. Trucker, 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 trucker. Automated trucker to the car running in front of us. Automated trucker to the car. Automated trucker. Automated trucker. Automated trucker. Automated car. Automated trucker system. Automated tracker system. Does the car have the automated tracker system? 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 Let's implement the phenomenon. The mission was implemented as scheduled. It's very easy to say, but difficult to implement. Mission implemented. I like to achieve and implement the masterpieces, which not many people challenge. Don't hesitate to implement your dream. Don't hesitate to implement your dreams. Implement. Experiment. Implement. Implement. I'm reluctant to implement the challenge. I'm so afraid. I know many people feel so like that. I'm so afraid of implementing my dreams. I'm so afraid of implementing the mission. I will make a mistake. Many people will not implement risky challenges for fear of the mistakes. I usually set out to work on my duty soon after eating lunch to keep my motivation, because spending much time on eating lunch makes me lose motivation. So I usually set out to work on my duty soon after eating lunch. I usually finish my lunch within 5 minutes. I usually set out to work on my duty soon after lunch. Let's set out to work on the duty tomorrow. It's already 11 o'clock p.m. It's time we went home. Otherwise, we might miss the last train. We might miss the last train. Set out to work on the duty. Set out to do homework. I used to set out to do my homeworks so late. I used to procrastinate. Doing homeworks. I used to procrastinate doing my homeworks when I was a student. We tend to procrastinate difficult duties, but it is said that successful people set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. So after realizing the truth, I tend to set out work on the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. It is said that successful people tend to set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. It is said that successful people set out to solve the most difficult problems or duties in the first place in the day. They say that successful people set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. It is said that successful people set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. It is said that successful people set out to deal with, resolve the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. What made you want to work as a social worker? The social workers are contributing to the society. Have you ever consulted with a social worker? Maybe it will be helpful. Have you ever consulted with a social worker? Have you ever consulted with a social worker? What do social workers do as their occupation? What does social worker do? What does social worker do? What do social workers do as their occupation, as their profession? What do the social workers do as their occupation, profession? Social worker. Why not consult with the social worker? Have you consulted with the social worker? How can I distinguish counterfeit beer from authentic one? How can I tell authentic beer from counterfeit counterpart? How can I distinguish counterfeit beer from authentic counterpart? How can I distinguish authentic beer from counterfeit one? How can I tell counterfeit beer from authentic one, genuine one? Counterfeit beer. How can I distinguish counterfeit beer from authentic one, genuine one? Hmm. counterfeit, counterfeit. Counterfeit. Counterfeit beer, counterfeit DVD, counterfeit brand goods. How can we distinguish counterfeit brand goods from authentic ones, genuine ones? Counterfeit. How can we distinguish counterfeit brand goods from authentic ones, genuine ones, real ones? Counterfeit beer. Counterfeit beers should not be used, created, passed down. Counterfeit beers was used by the criminal. Counterfeit beers. Counterfeit brand goods. Counterfeit not counterfeit brand goods. Counterfeit watches. How can we distinguish counterfeit beers from authentic ones, genuine ones? Counterfeit, 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 counterfeit. Are there tips for telling the counterfeit beers from authentic ones? Are there tips for telling authentic beers from counterfeit counterpart? Are there any tips for distinguishing counterfeit beers from authentic ones? Are there any tips for distinguishing counterfeit beers from authentic ones? The festival was implemented as scheduled. Make sure that the mission is implemented as scheduled. So manage the time from 2 weeks before the start. From 2 weeks before the start. It is said that successful people set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. And they say that successful people set out to deal with the most difficult duties in the first place in the day. What do social workers do as their occupation? What do the social workers do as the profession, occupation? The counterfeit beer was seen through by the professional, so he was arrested soon after using it. The cashier was a professional at seeing through counterfeit beers, so as soon as he noticed the counterfeit beer, he informed the police officers about that by pushing the button, pretending to be normal at the cashier to the customer. The cashier is the expert at distinguishing counterfeit beer from authentic ones. So as soon as he noticed, realized the counterfeit beer used by the criminal, he notified the police officers of that by pushing the button. pretending to be normal at the communication. It is said that we tend to come up with a good idea when we are taking a shower. Do you think so? Do you believe in that? Believe it or not? I often hear that we tend to come up with a good idea frequently or more often when we are taking a shower. My ideas are more crazy than ingenious, I think, for most of people. But I don't think them crazy. I think everything normal. So everything should be normal in this diversity. My ideas are often regarded as crazy rather than ingenious. My ideas are usually viewed as crazy rather than ingenious. My ideas are often regarded, seen, viewed as crazy rather than ingenious. I wish I could come up with as ingenious ideas as you. If only I had, if only I could come up with as genius ideas as you. If only I could come up with as ingenious ideas as you. If only I could come up with as ingenious solutions as you. Ingenious. I wish I could come up with as ingenious ideas as you. I wish I could come up with as ingenious ideas as you. I wish I could come up with as ingenious ideas as you. Ingenious. I'm super sensible to the materials used for clothes, so I'm so particular about choosing what to wear for my skin, because the coarse materials of the clothes make me feel itchy. So I usually buy the clothes with 100% cotton. Cotton 100%. I'm super sensitive to the materials of clothes, so I'm usually particular about what to wear for my skin. I usually buy 100% cotton. Do you think my decision was sensible enough? I wish I could make a sensible decision. I wish I could make a sensible decision as you. I wish I could make as a sensible decision as you. I wish I could make as a sensible decision as you. I wish I could make as a sensible decision as you. Sensible decision. Deciding immediately can be more important than taking much time for sensible decision. It's case by case. It depends on the case. Taking a vote immediately on the spot can be sometimes more important than taking much time for the sensible decision. Sensible. It was sensible of you to throw away unwanted things, to make space both mentally and physically. It's very easy to say, but difficult to put it into practice. 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 Put that into practice. Put it 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 into practice. It's easy to say, but difficult to put it into practice. It's easy to say, but it's difficult to put what you have said into practice. It's easy to say, but difficult to put it into practice. Put it into practice. Unidentified object, unidentified object, unidentified object, unidentified object. Difficult to pronounce. I usually come up with more crazy ideas rather than ingenious ones. I usually come up with more crazy ideas than ingenious ones. Ingenious, ingenious, ingenious. I think many people have good ideas, but they are afraid of put them into practice. Not many people can put them into practice because they are afraid of making mistakes, including me, as well as me. Many people have good ideas. Many people must have good ideas, but many of them cannot put them into practice for fear of making mistakes, failures, and so on, including me, as well as me. It was sensible of you to back up the data before default it. It was sensible of you to default the phone before the backing up the data of the phone before the default. It was sensible of you to back up the data of the phone before returning the setting of the phone to the status where you have bought it. It was sensible of you to back up the data of the phone before default it. From my objective opinion, removing some unwanted features from the machine would be better. Making it simple is recent trend, removing unwanted features, and which will also help the product to be decreased. Which also help us to decrease the prices, which will be more attractive to the customers. So from my objective opinions, it's better to remove unwanted features of the product and making them more simple and easier to understand by the customers, which will be, I think, more attractive to customers. And removing some of the features will contribute to reducing the prices. My main objective of this trip is to eat takoyaki. My main objective of this trip to Hokkaido is to see the beautiful scenery, nature. And of course the gurume. My standpoint differs from others 100 degrees. My standpoints are usually different from others. My viewpoints differ perfectly from others. My standpoints differ from others 100% sure. My viewpoints differ from others. My viewpoints differ from those of others. My viewpoints differ from those of others. My viewpoints differ from those of others. My standpoints differ from those of others. There are two tastes of juice. A is orange, B is grape. Which do you wanna drink? The latter. Okay, and I will get the former. The former version of the product is sometimes better than the latter. Products or services are often updated badly, so the former version of the product or services can be better than the latter. So the phenomenon that the former version of the service or product sometimes better than the latter because of the bad updates. Updates or revisions. In former times, I used to go to karaoke more frequently. In former times, I used to eat out more frequently. In Japanese schools, especially in university, as far as my experience is concerned, students used to sit in the latter seats in the classrooms for fear of being asked by the teachers. But I thought differently. I used to sit in the front seats, former seats, so that I could see the explanations written by the professors well. In Japanese universities, in my university, many students used to sit in the latter seats. Reversely, I used to sit in the front seats, the former seats. Front seats. The former version of the service or product can be better than the latter. From my objective viewpoint, the updates of the service made it worse. From my objective viewpoint, the updates of the service made it worse, made it more difficult to understand, comprehend, apprehend. I often feel inferior to others in everything, especially thinking speed. I often feel inferior to others, especially when it comes to thinking speed, courage, ability, and so on. I often feel inferior to others in everything, especially thinking speed. I often feel inferior to others. I am often inferior to others in everything when it comes to thinking speed. I'm no longer a teenager. I am not a teenager anymore. I can no longer swim 100 meters. I can no longer swim 150 meters. I cannot swim 150 meters anymore. In practice, The operation can be different from what we learned from the textbooks. Hmm. You are anything but fool. Entering the university is anything but easy. Passing the examination is anything but easy. Passing the examination is in no hmm? is anything but easy. Achieving something great is never easy. Anything but easy. In practice, the operation is different from what we have learned from the textbooks. In practice, the operations are often different from what we have learned from textbooks. The advertisements sound very marvelous, but I'm sure the reality is different from what it is explained on the pamphlet. The advertisement on the pamphlet sounds marvelous, but I know the reality is much different in practice. The content explained in the advertisement on the pamphlet sounds marvelous, but I'm sure that it is very different from reality in practice. In practice, in effect, in effect, in practice, in effect, in practice, in effect, in practice, in practice, in practice, in effect. There are many many things in theory which are not proven by experiments or data. And there are some hypotheses which might work in theory, but not proven as experiments or data. It is possible to cure the disease in theory. It is possible to fit the object into the hole in theory. It is possible to fit the object into the hole if the size fits in theory, but actually in practice it is impossible to fit the object into the hole without much space. It is perfect in theory, but it is not sure if it will work in theory. The spaghetti phenomenon is in theory, but in fact, it is not experimented yet. So no one knows what would happen if the object drops into the black hole. The spaghetti phenomenon is in theory. So in practice, nobody knows what would happen if an object dropped into black hole. In practice, I'd like to know how the object would be if it fell into the black hole. In practice, in practice, in practice, in practice, in practice, in effect. The contents explained in the pamphlet sounds marvelous, yet I don't think the reality is the same as explained at the pamphlet. In effect, in practice, in practice, in practice, in effect, in practice, in practice, in effect. I'm sorry for failing to expect you living up to your expectations. I'm sorry because I couldn't live up to your expectations. I don't try to live up to everyone's expectations. It's impossible. It's impossible to live up to everyone's expectations because we are not a Superman. If you can live up to everyone's expectations, you should be a prime minister or a president. I expected my diseases to be. I expected my diseases to be cured perfectly within last year, but it was not possible. I expected that my disease would be cured perfectly within last year, but it was impossible. I expected that the team would beat the opponent, but it didn't. I expected the day to be sunny, but it was not. I expected the day for my trip to be sunny. I really expect the day for my trip to be sunny. I really expect the day for my trip to be sunny. I really expect the day for my trip to be sunny. I really expect the day for my trip to be sunny. I really expected you to succeed in the examination. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I really expect you to succeed in the business. I remember the captain of the baseball team in the junior high school was commented on the podium that his team would defeat the opponent, but resulted in losing at the first round of the tournament. I remember the captain of the baseball team at junior high school was commenting at the podium that his team would defeat the opponent at the first round of the tournament, resulting in losing. If you fail to submit the document by the deadline, you will have to take the same year again. If you fail to submit the deadline, submit the document application by the deadline, we cannot accept at any cost, at all cost, in any case. If you fail to submit the document application by the deadline, we cannot accept anything beyond that date, at all cost, at any cost, in any case. If you fail to submit the application by the deadline, we cannot accept those submitted after the deadline at any cost, at all cost, in any case. I don't try to live up to everyone's expectations. It's impossible. I did my best so that I could live up to my parents' expectations. The kickboxer did his best to live up to his fans' expectations. The kickboxer trained a lot, and in order to win the match, and live up to the fans' expectations. I studied hard in order to live up to my parents' expectations. I worked hard so as to live up to my boss's expectations. I worked hard to live up to my boss's expectations. Ironically, my friend got more than 900 on TOEIC test without studying a lot, effortlessly. Ironically, my coworker got 990, the perfect score on the TOEIC test, effortlessly. Ironically, my coworker got the perfect score on the TOEIC test effortlessly. Ironically, he was eating fried chicken next to me on diet. Ironically, those who had ironically, those who did not make any effort passed the examination, and me, with a lot of effort, failed. Despite a lot of effort and study, I failed in the examinations. In spite of hard work, study, into the midnight every day, I failed in the examination. Maybe the efficiency and the way of my study must have been bad. I should have noticed it earlier, in earlier phases. In spite of my hard work at the study, I failed in the examination many times. Despite my hard study every day into midnight, I failed in the examination, which means my way of study must have been bad. I should have noticed it at earlier stage. I hope the day when my endeavors will bear fruit come. I hope the day when my endeavors bear fruit will come, and anytime soon. Endeavor, 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 endeavor. Make endeavor. I did many endeavors. I usually make a lot of endeavors in order to make up for my lack of knowledge, experiences, and so on. I usually make twice or three times as much endeavor as others in order to make up for my lack of knowledge, experiences, and so on. I usually make twice or three times. I usually make twice or three times as much endeavor as others in order to catch up with the average level. I usually make twice or three times as much endeavor as others in order to approach the average. Endeavor, 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 with a lot of endeavor. I really pay respect to those who can make an endeavor by doing what they are not interested in. I really respect those who can make an endeavor to those which they are not interested in doing. Making it possible, making the impossible mission possible is my duty. What I wanna do. Making the seemingly impossible mission possible is what I wanna do. Making the seemingly impossible mission possible is what I wanna do. Making the seemingly impossible mission possible is what I wanna do. Endless, constant, endless daily effort, commitment, dedication to the study resulted in winning the Nobel Prize for Physics. I hope my endless, constant daily effort of English will result in approaching the native speaker level. I hope my daily commitment, dedication to English study will result in approaching the level of native speakers. I hope my commitment, dedication, devocation into English study will lead me to the native speakers level. Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you!